on, girl, let's scream.
I am a god.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. This is the part where you run.
Come on, scream.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Scream, a podcast where we dive into our favorite horror movies. I'm Parker.
And I'm Stevie.
And today, we are looking at 1976's Carrie, directed by Brian De Palma.
Join us as we journey to Bates High School and learn all about telekinesis.
Are you ready to scream, girl?
Come on, girl. Let's
scream.
Carrie.
Yes. I love Carrie. It's one of my absolute favorite horror movies.
It is a very great horror movie. I mean, it's regarded as one of the best.
Yeah.
It is Stephen King's first film adaptation, and this is also the first novel he wrote, or, published.
And the book really wasn't even that, much of a seller, but the movie, is what ultimately made him so famous. So he has a lot to thank when it comes to this movie, and Brian De Palma is, genius.
Directing.
Really.
The directing is amazing.
It's so good.
I absolutely love the soundtrack of this movie, and let me look it up. I want to see who did it. It was Pino Donaggio.
Yes, and there's lots of moments in the score specifically that I want to talk about as we dive into the story. The score is perfect, and this movie to me is a masterpiece.
Oh, it's phenomenal. I think every aspect of it's great. The acting, everyone's performance is so well done.
It's one of those movies that I'm kind of in awe of, honestly. I have nothing. I have one or two negative things about the movie.
Okay, I'm gonna say there is one continuity error. I noticed that I just noticed it and I was just two scenes should have been flip flopped and it would have made way more sense.
Interesting. I never noticed continuity shit.
I will get into it because I thought it was a very obvious one, but
interesting. Okay, I'm excited to hear. Yeah, I only have very few critiques of this movie. I think it's nearly perfect.
Oh yeah,
I fucking love it.
Absolutely.
I think that we're gonna get into, as we go through, a lot of the director Brian De Palma's inspiration that he took from Alfred Hitchcock. I think that this movie is very much an homage to Hitchcock movies.
Oh yeah.
Particularly in the way that it builds suspense. And we'll get more into that. I kind of just want to talk about the plot. I don't want to spend too much time in our initial reviews.
Because, we're really just going to go into it.
I say if you've never seen Carrie,
go watch it.
Go fucking watch Carrie. Okay? Not the remake, bitch.
No.
I know, I never like remakes. And as we talk in our spoilers section, we'll get into more why I prefer the original. I mean, I usually prefer the original. But this movie is a masterclass of cinematography and storytelling. So the remake I've seen, it really does not hold a candle to the original. Go see the original Carrie. And then come back and get into the plot with us. Are you ready to scream?
Oh, I'm ready.
Come on, girl, let's scream. Okay. So, right away, we start out on this sweeping shot. And there are so many sweeping shots in this movie. I'm going to talk about the cinematography a lot.
Yeah.
Because I came up with a really good, analogy for the cinematography in this movie, or kind of what it reminds me of. So I'm a big theme park nerd. Particularly, I like animatronics a lot.
I can see I see where you're going now with this.
So I really like the dark rides, the classic Disney World, Peter Pan.
Great example.
Snow White,
which
I don't think is there anymore. Snow White's Scary Adventures.
No, yeah,
it's scared too many
scary.
kids.
But that's how a lot of
That's one
it's
of my
just
faves.
a track. You're on a track and you go through the story.
And
Little Mermaid's like that.
Yeah, Little Mermaid. There's a really cool Beauty and the Beast one in Tokyo Disneyland now. But it reminds me of a theme park ride. The way this movie is, the camera is kind of like the little like buggy that you're riding in.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in the dune buggy, the camera is that, and you're driving past these scenes, and the camera sweeps and it weaves and it creates these beautiful like tableaus in this movie.
It does that good job. Kind of like, I mean, it's kind of like how it keeps you like interested because it's changing shots so often in perspectives, which is like, honestly, gonna be real, that's how like a lot of modern television is, which is why a lot of people have ADHD now. Because you know, we're so used to like it has to be constantly changing to keep you interested. But I think this movie does it in a really nice way. There's a lot of things I like about this movie. One, it's short. It's so short,
we always love
and
that
to the point. I don't like long ass movies, and like I didn't know, like I didn't even think about like the cinematography, like some of the stuff they had to do wasn't super easy to do at the time, which makes this even more impressive.
Yeah.
And then I think it just immediately made me think of like Space Odyssey, if you've ever seen that. Like a lot of what they did in Space Odyssey is like that's Hitchcock, right?
No, Space Odyssey is Stanley Kubrick.
Kubrick, yeah. Yes. Oh my god, yeah, Kubrick, duh. But my problem with Space Odyssey, it's so fucking long.
Yeah.
And it's like you see like these really cool, like amazing shots that it's like, oh, that's amazing how they were able to do this. Such a fucking long movie that it's just like I can't. That it's like you kind of get disinterested in it.
Yeah, well, Kubrick, again, like talking about The Shining, he literally like was behind the invention of the Steadicam shot. So he's another mind similar to De Palma, who can just take the camera and use it as a means of storytelling and conveying those narrative beats to the audience.
There's another moment that I really like with the cinematography where it feels like you take the perspective of Carrie. Yeah. When you're walking through the house with her.
Yes.
Which I always love that. Because I don't think that's utilized enough. Because that was a moment where I was like, ooh, there could be a really big jump scare right now. Like,
right, yeah.
So,
I totally
feel like that's
agree.
Not utilized a lot.
It became more popularized in the 80s because Halloween, that POV shot.
Yes. But what I'm saying, I feel like anymore, like, we don't see it as much.
I agree. Like, bring back the first person POV shot. Yeah, it's always effective.
Yeah, and I feel like everything's very, like, still cam, like, I'm gonna just, like, you know, everything feels like it's just set up on a tripod with a lot of modern horror movies. I'm sure I just feel like cinematography isn't focused on as much.
Depends on the director, but overall...
I'm sure there's examples that I'm, like, not thinking of at the moment. Sorry to kind of derail us there for a moment.
No, that's okay. I totally agree with your point. I think that, like, comparatively to modern day cinema or what have you, cinematography has gotten less creative, truly. So it highlights this movie as being ahead of its time, and we can go ahead and jump to the plot now. I'm sorry to go on a whole tangent about cinematography, but it's important because we're going to be talking about camera angles and sweeping camera shots a lot in this movie because they use it to tell the narrative. Yeah. So we start out, we're at this volleyball game at school during gym class. And it's a like bird's eye view of the volleyball court. Mm-hmm. And we start out on the side, like opposite from where our main character, Carrie White, is standing. But it pans over and you're seeing
just all the girls.
And you can hear their conversations. They're saying, the girls on the opposing team from Carrie are saying, pass it to Carrie, because they know Carrie's afraid of the ball.
And she's not going to hit it.
She's not going to hit it.
Yeah, I think you hear, aren't some girls on her team like, no, don't
pass it to Carrie. Because as we learn, it's very easy to tell right away because the camera tracks forward and zooms in up on Miss Carrie. They pass the ball to her.
Who is played by Sissy
Spacek, who's incredible in this role. We'll get more into her acting as we go along. But the ball gets served to Carrie. She's afraid of the ball. She's very timid. She's a very shy girl. She doesn't get the shot. And her teammates begin to berate her. And they all tell her that, like, she sucks shit. They're like, you suck shit. And, like, you eat shit.
And then there's a girl. Do we know her name? She's wearing the hat.
Yeah, we'll get into the baseball cap girl. That is Norma.
Norma, okay.
Yes, she's
Sorry,
played...
my internet is not working on my computer, so I'm not able to pull up our Wikipedia page.
Oh, that's okay. I can be the Wikipedia. I can be the...
Okay.
I took notes on most of the casting.
Okay.
But yeah, they all start to bully her. And we see right away, no one likes Carrie. She's the weird girl in school. She is also long hair. It's very pretty hair.
Yeah.
But she wears it, she has a middle part, and she wears it kind of down in front of her face.
To cover her face. Like, she doesn't really want to be seen.
So in her body language, she's already conveying her shyness, her kind of outsiderness. And Sissy Spacek, we can go ahead and talk about it now. She was very method. She was very method when it came to this role. And her husband is the art director of this movie, Jack Fisk. And this was a collaborative effort, obviously, as him and Sissy Spacek were together. I don't know if they were married at the time, but they were dating, and they're still together to this day. Mm-hmm. And he also encouraged her to audition for the part, which, by the way, she got the part because she wasn't wearing any makeup during the audition. And everyone else was in glam, but the glam squad would come up to all the girls who were getting ready for the audition, and they wanted to put Sissy Spacek in some makeup. Mm-hmm. And she was like, no, I don't want to be wearing any makeup. She had a fresh face. She didn't do her hair. And I think that's a huge reason why she got the role, why she stood out from the others. Because this character famously does not wear makeup until the end of the movie. Yeah. And she's a very unkempt girl. So I think that was really smart of her. Yeah. But anyway, all this goes to say that she and Jack, they had this whole idea, because they were looking at a lot of paintings from the Romantic period, because this movie has a lot to say about religion and Christianity and all that. And they were looking at all these portraits and how all the subjects in the portraits had their body language was full of anguish. Yeah. And they were posed in this very, kind of scary way.
Renaissance painting.
Yes. It was always focusing on the pain and the sorrow and the emotion behind whatever the subject was, whether if it was, Jesus or whoever, religious figures. So Sissy Spacek was very smart, because almost every shot refers, because it's all these camera pans where we see Carrie introduced in a shot. She's going to be in this weird, her body language is going to convey that she's in anguish or that she's in pain or whatever Carrie's emotion is. Sissy Spacek, it kind of introduces the scene every time with this really unique body language.
Yeah, her body language is she's acting through every aspect of her body, emotion, and
her and Piper Laurie, who play the mom, were both nominated for an Oscar. So after that scene, we get this slow-mo shot of girls in the locker room, and a lot of them are fully bush out, titties and beaver.
I love this whole pan shot.
So this was done to make the audience uncomfortable, apparently. They said that, usually in a movie, nude scenes aren't going to show up until later in the movie. Mm-hmm. They did the nudity first scene in the movie so that you think, oh my god, this director is going to go there. If he's doing nude scenes right off the bat, what's going to happen in this movie?
I agree. I think it's a good way to kind of start the movie, because it's kind of even though it's to shock, I kind of found it a very beautiful scene. It's very just...
That's done on purpose.
The score is very well done.
And they're frolicking about, they're in slow motion, and the music, like you said, is very beautiful. It's this these flutes and these strings, and it's very fairy tale. It's very Disney vibes, right? And I believe that that's on purpose. My theory is that there's a lot of fairy tale vibes in this movie, because if you think about it, Carrie is Cinderella, but if everything went wrong for Cinderella.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think that's smart. I think it kind of is foreshadowing a little bit, this is going to be a twisted fairy tale kind of thing.
Yeah, and she's kind of her own fairy godmother. Because she says to discover her own power.
She is. And there's a prom, there's a ball, there's an evil mother figure. Yeah.
Oh my god!
There's a handsome prince.
Mind blown.
Yeah,
mind blown.
Right? That's what I was like. Wow, my mind. I have the mind of a master.
What's that?
What's
You're
that?
just so creative.
I'm just
like
creative
that.
like that.
I have the mind of a I have the mind of a mastermind. What's that? I don't know, but I'm so creative like that.
That was literally me. I sent Stevie this, like, the meme of Lady Gaga where it's like, I looked for clues on January 6th. Yeah. I was looking for evidence. That was me watching Carrie.
Which I still don't know. I just imagine her like walking around the Capitol with like a giant magnifying glass. Have you ever seen that meme of LaToya Jackson?
Yeah, LaToya! Yeah.
That's literally Lady Gaga looking for evidence.
Like, that is so funny. But yeah, so we get our Carrie shower scene. She showers alone. It's a slow zoom in on her body, and it's very sensual, the beautiful music. But then it is interrupted.
She drops the soap.
And we see blood running down her legs, and the music gets scary. Oh my god. And we see she has her period, and apparently she has no idea what a period is, and she's just shocked.
Freaking out.
She's in pure terror.
Pure
she thinks like, oh, I'm dying. Like, which, if I started pissing blood, I'd be like, yeah. Like, and I had no idea, like, what a period was, you know, if I was a woman. Yeah. That would be really traumatic. And she goes out and she's trying to get the other girls to help her. Mm-hmm. And the other girls are so cruel. And they start to bully the absolute shit out of Carrie. And they throw tampons at her.
Pads.
Plug it up. Plug it up.
Yeah, they start like
plug it
chanting. I think there's another version. I don't know if it's the 2013 remake or the TV version remake. Mm-hmm. But the girls, like, are all, like, standing up and going, period, period, period.
I think that was maybe the made-for-TV version, but I haven't seen that one.
Because that is wild.
Period, period. But yeah, I like, plug it up, plug it up. And they throw all these tampons and all these things. Finally, the gym teacher, Miss Collins, comes out and is like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, what's going on? And she particularly yells at this girl named Sue. Sue has the curly hair and, like, blue eyes. Mm-hmm. And Sue is our only, like, really sympathetic high schooler girl in this movie. You kind of notice right away when the gym teacher is like, what are you doing? She immediately, like, is like, oh, what am I doing? Like, you kind of see her, like, the shock kind of come to her face. Yeah. And she's like, oh, we are kind of being, like, really horrible to this poor girl.
Yeah, because in my mind, I think it would have been like, oh my god, girl, you're having your period. Like, take a tampon.
Right. But, I mean, like, I guess this is supposed to emphasize
just, like, cruelty, the
cruel nature of teenagers.
Yeah. Yep.
And high school in general.
And Sue is played by Amy Irving.
Fun fact. Yeah, this was an early role for her as well. And there's another person in this movie that was their first movie, and
John Travolta.
Yeah, I was gonna say, literally forgot he was in this movie
until he pops up, and you're like, yeah. John Travolta.
Like, oh yeah. We'll get to his character.
We go together.
I know. I was like, he's literally just Danny Zuko. Like,
yeah, he plays the exact same character.
Hey, Sandy. What's the matter with you? Like, it's very that vibe.
Oh, absolutely.
And the gym teacher, Miss Collins, she goes down and she's telling all the girls to stop, and she is trying to get Carrie to calm down. And I find it really interesting here that she is kind of a bitch too to Carrie. Like, she's like, pull yourself together! Like, what's wrong with you? And she slaps Carrie in the face.
Yeah.
So which I think emphasizes Carrie's isolation, because Miss Collins, as we'll come to find her, is the main person who defends Carrie and like comforts her and is like the good guy in this movie. Yeah. But even her, she has trouble like being warm with Carrie. Yeah. And you're just really like, damn, like everyone's so shitty to Carrie. Yeah. Even her like hero that's here to save her is kind of like cold with her, right?
Absolutely.
And we hear, for the first time in this movie, the use of the high-pitched violin, like staccato string from the movie Psycho. It was an homage to Psycho. We'll get into it further about how this was Hitchcock-inspired.
He wanted the director, he originally wanted the man who did the soundtrack for Psycho to do. That was Bernard Herrmann, but he passed away before.
Gotcha. So yeah, this was kind of a love letter to Psycho in many ways, and to Hitchcock films in general. So I think it makes perfect sense to use that sound effect. It almost sounds like a shriek.
We'll hear it anytime Carrie uses her powers.
Her powers. Because we see the light fixture up above pops out and goes out. And they're all like, what the fuck? What was that?
Yeah, one girl's even like, did you see that?
Yeah. And it's because anytime that Miss Carrie is in a rage, pretty much, when she's in a very vulnerable emotional state, we're going to hear that violin score. Some shit's going to go down.
Yeah.
And there's these two particularly bitchy little girls, these snot-nosed brats. Miss Chris, who is the blonde. She has the Farrah Fawcett kind of hair. She kind of looks like Sydney Sweeney a little bit.
Yes.
Did you get Sydney Sweeney vibes from her?
And she is played by Nancy Allen, who, fun fact, she was about to quit acting because it wasn't really going for her. And she was like about to leave LA. She ran into a casting director she knew, and he was like, oh, it's the last day that they're doing casting for this film. I don't know if you'll get it, but I mean, you might as well try for it because they've still been looking, so might as well go. She was like, fine, I'll go. She was the last person to audition on the last day, and she got the part.
Oh, hell yeah. And she does a great job playing a really kind of complex mean girl.
And that is Nancy Allen. I think I said that, but if I didn't, Nancy Allen plays Chris.
And then the other is, I call her baseball cap girl.
Which is Miss Norma.
Miss Norma.
And she's played by PJ Souls. And fun fact about that baseball hat, she wore it to her audition. And the director, Brian, was like, hey, you'll get the part. You need to bring that hat. Bring that hat to shooting. And she was like, okay. And so she brought it the first day. He's like, did you bring that hat? And she's like, absolutely. And so they used it in every single shot.
She's always wearing a baseball.
Yeah, that was like the joke. And my favorite part is when she's getting her hair done. It's on top of the hair dryer.
No way.
Yes, really? Did you not notice that?
No, that is so
you need to go
funny.
back. That's when I lost it.
I love her. Well, first of all,
and we'll get back into that scene.
Right.
That was a good scene.
First of all, the actress, Miss PJ, I don't know if you knew this, she is in the original Halloween. She is Miss Linda, Laurie's friend, who always says, totally. Do you remember her?
Oh, she's the one who's like,
she's like, do you like what you see? Or see anything you like?
The ghost, where he's like, just
oh my god! Yeah, that is her. That's Norma.
Oh my god. She was also in Jawbreaker. Oh my god, she's in it a lot.
Yeah, she's a great actress. She's really funny. And, like, in this movie, she's really good at playing, like, just a shithead. Like, with her baseball cap.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck you, baseball cap girl. Stop being a bitch to Carrie. Yeah.
I hate her.
Me too.
With your stupid little baseball cap.
Yeah, why are you wearing a baseball cap with your prom dress, bitch?
Like, tacky.
And, yeah, so they kind of, like, linger and are laughing at Carrie. They're definitely, like, the bitches of the school. And we get this scene where the gym teacher apologizes to Carrie. She's like, I didn't even know. I'm so sorry. You know, everything's going to be okay. And she starts to explain her about periods and how that whole thing works.
Yeah.
And then she also has to go and have a meeting with the school principal. And she's waiting outside the school principal's office. She has her hair all on her face. And the first time we get a real scope of how disliked Carrie is, not just by the other peers in her class, like the other girls, but by everyone. Just kids are stopping by, they see creepy Carrie, they all call her creepy Carrie, and they all probably heard what happened in gym class.
Oh,
and they're kind of leering at her.
Those girls
told
right
everybody.
Away.
Yeah.
We're telling everybody.
So kids are like leering at her in the doorway as she's waiting. And I will say now, because this is a good scene to talk about it. A reason why I love Carrie so much is because I really identify with Carrie, because there was this like moment particularly in middle school, where I was super bullied. I didn't have a great home situation either.
Yeah.
And I feel like Sissy Spacek, really with her body language, with her eyes, and there's not really much dialogue in this movie, really at all. But you just, like, know exactly what she's going through. You can see who this person is, what's going on, and you just feel so fucking bad for her.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, damn, like, I think we all can relate to that feeling of being alone, feeling ostracized, not fitting in. I think this is a big queer metaphor, or can be seen as a, you know, big LGBTQA plus vibe. Carrie's powers, and I think a big metaphor for her powers are just womanhood and puberty and being, you know, trying to figure out
that's the thing,
life
this movie,
when you're a
along
young
with being a
girl.
horror movie, it is like very much a coming of age story.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as soon as like, well, we'll get more into it, because there's this, once we start talking about it, when has interactions with her mom.
Oh, we'll talk about the mom.
Yeah.
Miss Margaret. But yeah, so first we have this scene where she has to meet with the principal, and this principal's maybe the worst principal ever.
He doesn't give a damn.
He gets her
fucking
name
shit.
wrong. He calls her Cassie like 10 different times, and she keeps going, "It's Carrie." I love her voice. I love her voice. I feel like Mia Goth and Pearl had to have been influenced by Sissy Spacek's voice in Carrie, because it's just that raspy. Oh my god.
It's a very soft southern voice.
Yeah. It's Carrie.
It's Carrie.
Of course, Cassie. But anyway, it's Carrie. Yes, I'm sure you're all torn up, Cassie. It's Carrie! And then, like, on that last one, the ashtray.
He has, like, an ashtray full of cigarettes on his...
It flips, and it just smashes against the ground.
Yeah.
And you hear that, bing!
And then she just leaves.
Yeah, well, they tell you can go home.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know.
Because he goes, "You can go home, Cassie."
It's Carrie!
She smashes and she leaves.
And she walks home. This is one of my favorite scenes, because we get the little shithead kid on the bike. Creepy Carrie, creepy Carrie. And then she gives him that look, and he flips off his bike. And he's like, oh.
And she's just like, oh. And I think she's starting to, like, more and more realize, like,
that she's causing this
shit.
Yeah,
like she catches on, because I don't know if that first one was the first time it happened with the bathroom. You know what I mean?
Oh, actually, there was a deleted scene that was supposed to go at the beginning of the movie. That was Carrie as a child, and she realizes that she can do this kind of shit.
Okay.
Even as early as, like, I don't know, maybe she was like 10 or something.
Okay.
Well, it's actually interesting. I can go into it. Because I think it sets up a little bit the backstory. Mm-hmm. Well, I think they cut it for, like, they couldn't get the effects to look right, I'm pretty sure. But she's out playing in her yard, and she sees through the crack of the fence her neighbor, who's like this young, beautiful woman, is sunbathing topless. And Carrie walks over and she's like, "Are those your dirty pillows?" And she's like, "My what?" And she's like, "That's what Mama calls them, dirty pillows." And Carrie kind of is lingering on this topless woman and on her breasts. She's probably never seen, like, tits before in her life. And very shortly after, Carrie's mother, Mrs. White, who is fucking crazy, as we will learn when we get her official, like, first scene, comes out. She's, "Carrie, get your ass in here." And she starts, like, abusing Carrie, you know, pulling her inside, yelling at her for hanging out with this topless chick. And Carrie gets really upset, and rocks start to rain from the sky and, like, fall all over the front yard. And, like, the neighbor's like, "What the fuck was that?" But it's a first kind of hint at she can move shit with her mind.
Yeah.
And it sets up a scene later that had to be cut around in the finale of this movie. Because it's different.
I know what I know what you're talking about. It is the effects is the reason they weren't able to do it.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's the original ending's a little different.
So it sets that up. The rocks falling from the sky, just remember that.
Yeah.
Basically. Yep. But, yeah, she gets home. Or first, actually, we get the introduction of Margaret White, her mother. And Margaret White...
like you just said, is crazy.
It's so crazy. And Piper Laurie, the actress, she thought this was going to be a satire, I guess.
It was comedy.
She thought it was a comedy, which I can see. Like, on paper, this is a really, like, crazy concept. And this character is so over the top. And I still think there's a little satire lingering.
To it.
She camps this role the fuck up. And she's got this voice. Like, it's just deep and it's real southern. And she's...
Well, she really created... The character's so well created. Because, like, again, if you... The documentary I watched, because she just talked about her character, and she was very much like, no, this is what she would say. This is what she would do. And we'll get into some of the moments where very much where she was like, this was her choice as an actor.
Yeah.
She's like, this is what I need to do.
Great acting. And it, again, makes sense. They were both nominated for Oscars. They totally deserve the nominations. This is Mrs. Snell, who she's going to visit. And Mrs. Snell she's definitely like a Christian, you know, goody two-shoes kind of mom, but she's way more lax and way more chill than Margaret, who was like, oh, you don't want to hear me sit and preach to you about the word of God? Well, I hope you find Jesus. And, like, bitches her out before she leaves. She's like, oh my God.
And that's
Margaret
Sue's mom, right?
Yeah, and Sue comes home.
And she is played by Annie's mom, like, actual mom.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And that was because Brian liked to... in one of his previous films, he had also had, like, an actual, like, parent-child, like, do it. And he just... So that was just his thing. He just felt like that was the easiest way to get that, like,
dynamic. Yeah.
And dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely tell they're related. Now, like, thinking back on it, they look a lot alike.
They look a lot alike.
Yeah. That's cool. I didn't know that. And the actress who plays Mrs. Snell, her mom, she does a great job.
Yeah, Priscilla Porter.
Good for Priscilla Porter. She was like... you could tell she's like, yeah, that's Carrie's mom. Yeah, she's crazy. Like,
psycho.
She gives her like a $10 donation, kind of be like here, like, bye now, like, here, I did my part. Like, stop yelling at me about Jesus. Like, I get it. And we see Mrs. White go home, and Carrie's already home. She's watching her mom approach the house from the attic window. And we can already see Carrie is terrified of her mother. So we already can tell the dynamic. Oh God, her mom's coming home and she's on edge. We see the inside of their house. Inside their house is fucking crazy. The art director, again, Jack Fisk, he did an amazing job creating this house. It's inspired by churches. Like, there's like weird arches inside the house that kind of look like the interior of a church, and there's these, there's like cathedral windows and stuff, and it's all very gothic. Even like a little,
I gotta look at a picture of the house.
There's a Last Supper on the wall.
Yes.
There's crosses everywhere, and lots of that kind of romantic period art style paintings. Scary Jesus is everywhere. Everywhere you turn, scary Jesus. Above the bed, scary Jesus. Above the toilet, scary Jesus.
In the closet, scary Jesus.
Oh, there's definitely a scary Jesus in the closet. We'll get to that. And Carrie anxiously waits while her mom answers the phone downstairs. And it's a phone call from the school describing what had happened with Carrie that day.
Yeah.
And Carrie is very scared. She's nervous, and she's sitting at the top of the stairs. And her mother doesn't even greet her. She just goes, you can come downstairs.
I know you're listening.
I know you're listening. And she says, you're a woman now. And then Carrie says, why didn't you tell me, Mama? And Mrs. White immediately bitch slaps the fuck out of Carrie and starts getting her Bible out, and she's preaching to her, and she's like, women are sinners, and Carrie's trying to have this like real conversation with her. Yeah. She's like, no, like, talk to me, like,
she's
why?
Like going to this whole like how the Bible says like because women are sinners, like periods are a punishment. Mm-hmm. She's basically saying like you've sinned,
and Eve was weak. The first sin was intercourse, and Carrie's like, please talk to me. Please have this conversation with me. Yeah. And her mom's like, no, repeat what I say. Repeat after me. Eve was weak. Eve was weak. And so she's constantly drilling into Carrie these really fucked up and archaic views on womanhood. Yeah. And it's very sad. And then she also goes, get in your closet. And she puts Carrie in this, like, it reminded me of the Chokey from Matilda, which also Matilda is kind of like Carrie coded a little bit.
Oh, very,
if you think
absolutely.
about it.
It's a little kid.
She's a telekinetic, girl who has abusive parents. So
she just doesn't go on a killing spree.
Right. She doesn't have a Miss Honey to save her out of that whole situation. But she goes into the chokey and it's got the scariest Jesus in the whole house.
He's like...
Or it might be, I think it's actually Saint Sebastian. I don't think it's Jesus, but he's in a very crucifix pose. He's got arrows coming out of his abdomen and chest.
Who is that?
Saint Sebastian is what it technically is. And I'm not very religious. I don't know really much about...
Yeah, I think you're right. That might be
biblical figures, but they kept in the bonus features. They kept calling it Saint Sebastian, but it looks like Jesus to me, and it looks like
it is. You're right. It is Saint Sebastian,
and he has these big glowing eyes because it has a lantern inside. It's a kind of like a candle crucifix, so that there's light pouring out of the eyes of the Jesus. And he looks really scary. I would be frightened to pray to that God. This is definitely a God-fearing home, not a God-loving or God-worshipping home, All of the religious iconography, it's not pretty, Easter Sunday vibes or Christmas Eve church service vibes. It's no, scary, Catholic, kind of fucked up shit. Mrs. White would not believe in angels that have a halo and wings. She likes the biblically accurate
angels. As do I.
With the eyeballs.
Yeah, I will
scary
say
ones.
This for me. This whole when she was yelling the Bible verses and then this was the moment that kind of got me and I
kind of triggered. Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, I mean because just growing up in a religious household and a religious school and education, it's just
yeah.
That because there
it's
are
traumatic
people like this,
yes.
And it's such a
they believe that any
this mental and emotional abuse being thrown on this child is just I mean on top of the physical abuse as well,
and she's just because she's purely existing. Carrie has done absolutely nothing wrong. She's gotten her period like everybody fucking else.
Yeah.
But they're just so, they think that any autonomous thinking or any outside the box thinking at all, any aversion to normal, whatever, what you want to define that as, is a sin.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Carrie's got it rough. She's getting bullied at school. She's getting bullied at home. And she has no idea what's going on with her. And she's definitely got some kind of special powers. In class the next day, we meet our quote-unquote Prince Charming of the story. This is Tommy, and he is this jock guy. He's got long, curly, Goldilocks hair, ringlets. I said, oh, she is wigged, mama.
Yeah. But then also, it might have just been his hair.
They could have just, because this was the 70s. And this movie reminds me more of Prom Night 1, obviously.
Yes. Because
we're in the 70s. Everybody's got feathered hair, everyone's got permed hair. Leisure suits and slip dresses and...
A lot of bell bottoms.
Disco, yeah.
Bell bottoms are saying this.
And this English teacher is such a fucking dick to Carrie because he's actually roasting the shit out of Tommy's poem that he wrote. Which Tommy might have copied. We don't know. It's hinted that he plagiarized it.
Yeah.
But Carrie very kindly says, it's beautiful. And defends Tommy's poem. And everyone starts laughing at Carrie. And then even the teacher starts being a dick to Carrie. And making fun of Carrie. Yeah. And there's also this really cool instance. It's the first time we've seen this movie. Going back to talking about cinematography. It's a... cool effect that they do called a diopic lens. And basically when you get a shot in cinema that has something on the one side of the screen that's in the foreground and something that's in the other side of the screen that's in the background, it's hard to focus on both things.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to have depth of field where the camera gets a little blurry in the distance.
Yes.
But they used a certain kind of camera that allowed them to frame two subjects, one in the foreground, one in the background, at the same time. So Carrie is on the right side of the screen. She's sitting back at the back of the classroom, looking shy, looking embarrassed. Tommy is at the front of the classroom. It's more of a close-up on him, but you can see it's focused perfectly on both of them. So you see his reaction to her and her reaction to him. And he is kind of a little sympathetic to Carrie. Like, he appreciates that she would defend his poem like that and speak up against the teacher.
Yeah.
And he even, says under his breath, he calls the teacher an idiot. And the teacher gets mad at him for defending Carrie. So it's kind of cute.
He says, "You suck."
He's
like, "What did you say?" And he goes, "Aw, shucks."
Oh, yeah. That was funny.
And then everyone kind of started laughing some more.
But it was cute because this guy, this is kind of the first, act of kindness we've seen, bestowed upon Carrie so far. So I thought that was really cool that they do that. And there's several instances in this movie where they use that camera lens and you get these really cool shots where you can see things that are in different places. You can get their reaction to each other at the same time. Really cool storytelling. Again, he does such a good job with that. Then we see on the gym doors, some shit kids have graffitied Carrie White eat shit. And meanwhile, the girls from the gym class that were making fun of Carrie, they're getting their asses chewed the fuck out by Miss Collins. She just bitches these kids out in class the next day. Carrie's not there. They told her she could just have study hall instead of going to gym at this point. And she particularly bitches out Miss Chris, Farrah Fawcett hair girl, for chewing gum. And she goes, "Well, where should I put my gum, Miss Collins?
You can swallow it for all I care.
You can choke on it for all I care." And it's like, damn, Miss Collins.
As long as it's out of your mouth.
And then she tells baseball cap girl, she goes, "Wipe that stupid smile off your face." I think that scene was really fucking funny because that baseball cap girl, she deserved that. She did have that shit-eating grin on her face.
It was, because we've been watching the first season of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh, yeah.
It's, Rebecca Glasscock getting eliminated.
Yeah.
Your time is not now.
Not now, yeah. I mean, just her face
smile,
just falls.
It's just the face crack with such she just goes, dead in the face, pissed off.
Yeah, it was definitely the Rebecca Glasscock face. And she tells the girls that she met with the principal. She said, "I wanted to just, cancel prom." And they'll go, "Oh!" And she goes, "But I can't do that. He won't let me do that." And they're like, "Oh, thank God." And she goes, "But either you don't go to prom and you get suspended, or you have to have detention every day after school with me, and I'm going to make you do physical activity, bitch."
Yeah.
And the one girl...
Chris?
It's No. It's actually a background character. I wondered if you recognized her. She's the principal's assistant in Ferris Bueller, this actress. Oh. Really funny. He's a righteous dude. Remember her?
Yeah.
She's one of the teenagers in Carrie. And when she finds out that she has to do physical activity, she goes, "Oh!" It's so funny. She's like, "Not physical activity." Fucking hilarious. She has, she's in the background in this movie a lot. With the best reactions. I love this actress. She was also in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and has a great scene in that.
Is she the where he lost the ticket for his rental?
She works at the airport. And
Wipe that stupid
fucking smile off your fucking face. And then she goes, "Sir."
Oh dear. Oh dear, what? You're fucked.
It's great. Yeah, so this was probably one of her first movies because she's just kind of a background extra, but she serves face. She's got her same glasses and she's more of a rounder face.
Yeah,
and she's always camping it up in the background. I love it. So they all agree that they're gonna go do detention.
Except Chris is trying to get them to revolt.
Yeah, she's like, "She can't do this to us, girls," and they're all like,
"Girl, let's go.
Let's just.
I'm not missing prom.
Yeah.
I already bought my dress."
Right, literally.
Girl, no. My boyfriend went to the limo.
Yeah.
No.
I have to feather my hair. I already have a hair appointment, so I get my hair perfectly feathered. Because it's the fucking 70s.
What are you talking about, Chris? Are you stupid?
And Chris, they're doing push-ups and stuff. She's drilling them out in the football field or whatever the fuck. And Chris is fed up. She can't do any more push-ups. And so she just starts walking away. And Mrs. Collins is like, what are you doing? And she tells her to stick it up her ass. She's like, you can just stick it up your ass.
And she smacks her.
Yeah, the principal smacks her.
The teacher.
The teacher smacks her.
Miss Collins.
Miss Collins is kind of wild.
And she's like, you can't do this. You can't get away with this. And the girls are all like, Chris, just like, there's the one girl literally say, Chris, just shut up.
Sue, the one who is sympathetic for Carrie.
She's literally
like, Chris,
just shut
the fuck up. Bitch.
Like, I mean, I would have gotten to that point too. It's like, girl. Like, we're here. We know this. Like,
let's just stick it out.
We did something. We did it. We were wrong.
Yeah. Also, we'll get really skinny for prom by all these push-ups we're doing.
Like tone my arms are going to
right.
prom.
This might actually be really good for prom. That's how I would take it. I'd like try and spin it that way.
She's looking out for us, Miss Collins.
I'd be like, oh my god, free personal trainer.
Straight up.
But yeah,
I
Chris,
lose 5 pounds in 5 days. Oh my God.
Right, and I don't even need to get mono like in Romeo and Michelle to be skinny. And she does not like this whole thing, and so she just gives up and she says, fuck it, I just won't go to prom. And she decides that she'll just take the suspension. And she's just seething mad. She directs all of her anger, of course, at Carrie.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we see Carrie is in the library and she is researching telekinesis. And it's finally like her putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
This is what I have. This is...
Okay.
Yeah.
She's like, she's learning all about it. She's like, let's get the education
and it's confirmed when she's like reading through the description of telekinesis or whatever, that it's emotion-based. Yeah. So it's happening when she's pissed, basically. So it's hard to control. We see Sue. She's actually dating Mr. Tommy, blonde guy. And she approaches him. She's very guilty still about what they did to Carrie. And her whole plan is, okay, you're going to do me a solid, babe, because, we're a very happy couple together. Yeah. And you're going to be a good boyfriend for me because I'm going to need you to actually take Carrie to the prom. And he's like, are you serious? And we see like a montage, like it cuts to them later in the day because he has to like really take time and think about it. But he decides, he's like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Because I think that he likes Carrie. He feels bad for her. Yeah. And they're kind of doing this out of pity. Which is... Wrong.
But I get which... They do, like, kind of get called out for it, and we'll get into it. And I mean, I think the intentions were good.
Right. Bad execution.
Yeah. And
that night, we see John Travolta for the first time in this movie. Again, playing, like, Sandy.
Yeah, it's literally the same character.
Bada bing,
but his
bada
name
boom.
Is Billy Nolan.
Billy. And he's Chris's boyfriend.
Yeah, and they are just speeding. They are seeing friends on the other side of right next in the other lane, and so they're talking. They throw him a beer.
Yeah, he starts drinking while driving.
And she's doing makeup, and then, cops pull up next to them.
And he's all like, oh, but
he, throws the beer on
her.
Chris, and she's like, you shithead.
You stupid shit. She keeps calling him a stupid shit. And when he calls her a stupid shit, he does not like that. We see he's a very abusive boyfriend because he goes, I told you, don't call me that.
And he, smacks her. He keeps smacking her.
And they're very toxic for each other because she smacks him back. Yeah. And every time that the one calls the other a stupid shit, they smack each other.
And then
that's like a running gag.
And they pull over, and
they pull into this a makeout spot, Makeout Cove
Peak.
Or something. Makeout Peak. And she's kissing him, and he's trying to go further, and then she pulls back, and then she's like, no, but kiss me, and then she pulls back again, and it's because she's so distracted. Yeah. Because all she could think about is how much she hates Carrie
White.
And she goes to give him head, which I thought this didn't make any sense, I will say.
Because she kept going, oh, Billy. Oh, Billy.
And it's like, how are you talking?
But he looks like he was getting, really good head.
Sucking dick? Yeah.
And I'm like...
He's gooning. Fully gooning.
I'm like, what is she... Yeah. I'm like, wow, that's talent.
Right. I want to be able to have a full conversation with the guy I'm sucking.
Like, damn. How you doing that? Oh, Billy. Oh, Billy.
And then she goes,
I hate Carrie White. And he goes,
what?
Who? And it's just a cut straight to, we see Carrie again. I think this is when she's in the library again.
Because Travolta's so funny. I mean, say what you want about John Travolta. He is always really funny in whatever movie he's in. He kind of takes this measly little role here and makes the most out of it. It's pretty memorable. You're like, LOL, John fucking Travolta and Carrie. I love it.
But imagine, in 1976, you went and saw this, you're like, oh, look at that guy.
Whatever. Yeah, right?
Who's this dude?
Yeah. In the library the next day, Tommy approaches Carrie and asks for the prom. And she just runs away. She's like, yeets out of there. Because she, like, you know, obviously assumes, oh, this is a prank. Because he's this popular guy. I mean, what would he be doing asking her to prom? And she's like, oh, something's up. Something's sus. She's also really shy, so she just, like, ran away just out of shyness as well. And Miss Collins finds her kind of sitting by herself and sulking. And Miss Collins kind of gives her, like, a pep talk. She kind of hypes her up. She's like, you know what, Carrie? I think you should do it. She says, I'll do you a solid, Carrie. I'll investigate Tommy. Yeah. And I'll see if he's being legit about wanting to take you to prom. And if he is, go for it, girl. And she's like, here. And she puts her in front of the mirror.
A nice dress. You'll put on some lipstick.
She says, you're actually really pretty. Here, pull your hair. And she pulls her hair back out of her face. Yeah. And she goes, a little lipstick, a little... And this reminded me of Burlesque. You mean your mom never did your makeup for you? Let's share.
She died.
Oh my God, so sad. Here, let me just do your makeup in 2 seconds, and then it looks like you have a full face of makeup.
That movie is...
I love Burlesque.
It's so wild.
It's kind of a horror movie because it's so bad. It's so scary, the plot.
Oh, I can't believe I owe an undisclosed amount of money.
Air rights.
You haven't seen the last of me. Wagon wheel 1, 2, see.
Wagon wheel 1, 2, see. Can you imagine Cher in a horror movie?
Oh my God! Imagine her as Mrs. White. We're all gonna laugh at you.
We're all gonna laugh at you, bitch. Yeah, and so Carrie's kind of like, okay, well, maybe I do kind of want to go to prom now, right? But she still is like, no, I can't do it. But then the gym teacher goes, and she grills Tommy and Sue, and she's like, listen, are y'all trying to fuck with Carrie, or, like, are y'all being serious? And Sue admits, she's like, look, okay, I don't want to prank Carrie.
I feel bad.
I just feel bad for her, and I feel like it would be really good for her if Tommy took her to prom and gave her that experience.
So she can socialize.
Yes,
and, like,
socialize
get to feel normal.
And Miss Collins, she does like that. She's like, okay, yeah, that's actually a good idea. Which I still don't think it is. I still think it's, like, weird manipulative and puts on this, like, farce.
I think it's more that Sue, like, she feels bad and she knows he's not gonna be mean to her. He's not gonna...
Yeah, he's
like,
a nice guy.
He's not gonna leave her hanging.
He's a nice guy. He's good at making conversation. You know, he can give her a fun night.
Yeah.
And will be respectful to her.
Yeah.
And so Miss Collins
because the prom
is
has this weird rule, because we learned that if Carrie goes... Sue can't go because it's couples only, which is weird.
Oh, I never caught that.
Yeah, which is why Sue doesn't go to the prom. So that's why she's also like, why would you give up your opportunity to go to prom?
Oh, that makes sense. And yeah, so they are like cool with it. Like Miss Collins is like, okay.
She's like, if she agrees to it, then like if Carrie agrees to it, good. But if anything goes down, like,
yeah,
I'm after your ass.
I will be on you guys. But yeah, so Tommy decides to stop by Carrie's house and is trying to convince her, no, like, let's go to prom together. Like, I want to do this for you. And Carrie answers the door, and we can hear that Mrs. White is lurking in the background somewhere. And Carrie knows that, like, at some point soon, Mrs. White is going to be like, Carrie, who's at the door? And she doesn't want her to know that there's a boy at the house. And Tommy's like, I'm not leaving until you say yes. And so Carrie is finally like, okay, fine, like, but just go. So that's how she agrees to go to prom with him.
As long as you get out of here, I just don't care.
Just my scary mom is scary. Like, you have to go.
Like, she will probably kill both of us.
Yeah.
So, get.
That night, we see John Travolta and Chris, along with the help of some, like, cronies that they've found, some of their friends. They sneak into this pig farm, which has a really cool, like, mural on the outside of it. It's like a beautiful, like,
one of them is like
landscape.
One of them is kind of like a stoner or pothead or drunk one because he's like, look at all the pigs, look at all the pigs.
Yeah,
like about the ones like painted that are on the mural, like along the like walls.
Mm-hmm. It's a cool mural. I guess they just found it. This place just happened to have like a cool mural, and they're like, let's use this place.
Yeah, and pretend it's a pig farm.
Yeah.
Maybe it was actually a pig farm.
I don't know, but whatever it was, the mural was just like randomly there.
Yeah.
And they go in, and the guy's like, oh, I don't know if I can do it, because he has a sledgehammer. And so John Travolta's like, here, I'll do it. And he starts killing this pig.
Yeah.
And Chris is like, do it. Do it. Do it. I'm like...
She's like horny for it.
Yeah, she's like, ugh. A lot of like orgasms in this movie. Like characters orgasming because they're just so like excited.
Or into something.
Or like into something, yeah. Carrie decides to tell her mother that she wants to go to
And
prom.
I love this like shot, this cinematography moment, this directing, because
the lighting.
As soon as it cuts to her mom, she has the most like angry look, and the thunder goes off.
Because she goes, prom? And then it's like, yeah.
And then it, like, the thunder kind of does it, like, at other moments, but, like, that one was, like, oh, I, like, watching it, I was like, oh, that was really good.
Well, because it's the lighting, too, really plays into it, because at first there's candles lit.
Yeah.
And then Mrs. White fucking takes her cup of tea and
because she, like,
throws
starts to
it
talk,
on
she's
Carrie.
like, yeah, I'd really like to, and then in the middle of her sentence just throws it, and so the lights, like, it puts out the candles.
Poor Carrie is just covered in tea.
And she's like, what the fuck? And then, like, we get the... I think that's when the next shot is, like, we see them from across... Like, it's away from the table. She's, like, standing up. And then the lightning flashes and you see the Last Supper painting.
Yeah! This is their Last Supper.
It's
right?
like...
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, like, wild.
Yeah, so cool. Like, the visual, like, dichotomy of, like, the... And, again... The candle lights went out, so we're only seeing this scene in flashes of the lightning.
Yeah,
because it's all dark.
Yeah,
such a cool scene. I'm glad that you noticed that too.
Yeah, no, this scene was
amazing.
like that's the thing. Everything about this movie again. It just keeps you so interested because it's just so well directed.
Yeah, the directing is top notch. Yeah,
and then the score and the acting. It's just It's for me. It's a 10 out of 10 film.
Absolutely.
Like I would definitely put this as like one of my favorite horror movies.
Yeah. It might be my favorite, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
There's so many. So yeah, they're fighting, and her mom goes...
It's like, oh, she makes this, she makes this, like, really creepy, like... everything she says is just so, like, creepy. And,
after the blood comes, the boys, like, sniffing dogs.
Come like hounds sniffing for
Slobbering and sniffing and trying to find out where that smell comes from.
It's like, ew.
Ew. Ew. Ew. Carrie tries to convince her mother some more, and when the mom tries to storm out,
she said, I'm going to close the windows because the storm's coming and all the windows are, and all the windows in the house just shut.
Yeah.
And she's like, what the fuck?
You can tell this is the first instance that her mom has seen of the powers.
And she like realized, and she like knew right away that I was like, she kind of knew right away that it was Carrie. Like,
well, because this is a woman who thinks everybody's a witch.
Exactly. And so she's like now
she's
like fully,
satanic panic.
Yes, like her mind is just so fucking warped from her religious
and it's almost like her worst fears have been confirmed.
Yeah.
Even though she's like right, but she's also like so wrong.
Yeah.
You know. And she says, Mama, I'm going. And things are gonna change around here.
Yeah.
And this was her putting her foot down.
Yeah.
And being like,
and then this is when like this is kind of like a switch of like, this is when that continuation of like the womanhood, I feel like, comes, because this is her like, I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
I'm taking control of my life.
Absolutely.
I'm doing what I want to do. I've done what you want to do. I'm not doing that anymore.
Yes.
I've been putting up with your bull crap, and you've been lying to me, and like, and then, you know, I mean, if her mom had told her about, oh, periods are a thing, she wouldn't have gone through this just super traumatic event. Because it goes down to, like, the girls were awful and shouldn't have done that and treated her like, but it also goes back to her mom, because her mom refused to tell
can't
her
even
about
have a normal conversation without quoting the Bible. Like, her mom can literally only talk about scripture.
Yeah.
So yeah, they never would have had a conversation about sex education or anything like that, because her mom literally only speaks in Bible verses, you know? Which is like, I mean, religion has its like benefits, I guess, but like, too much, bitch! Like, you need to be a fucking mom at the end of the day. Well, she's also super abusive, but anyway.
Absolutely.
Then we get a scene of John Travolta and Chris, they sneak into the school and they set up the booby trap.
The booby trap.
We don't really see much of it yet. We just see that it's a bucket of pig's blood, but that's all we kind of see. And I'm going to take this moment. This whole scene reminds me of the Hitchcockian sort of aspect of this movie.
Yeah.
Because De Palma uses this scene very effectively in a way that draws back to Hitchcock's theory called the bomb under the table theory. Have you ever heard about this?
No.
Okay, so Alfred Hitchcock, who, of course, the master of horror.
Yeah.
He was very
influential
on the whole genre. But his whole theory was, okay, so let's say I'm filming a scene. And it's a scene where a bomb is going to go off. And the characters are having a chat at the table. And a bomb goes off. That's not scary. Dude, the audience is maybe scared for like 2 seconds just from the shock, like the jump.
Yeah.
He said, but there's no tension. What you have to do is you have to show the bomb under the table. Tell the audience that there's a bomb under the table. But don't tell your characters.
Yeah.
And so the audience the whole time
like, oh my God.
is on edge. Oh, when's the bomb going to go off? Ah! And
Oh
when
my
it
God,
does, it's like, oh my God!
Yeah.
It's that tension building.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And so I cite that whole theory that Hitchcock had because I think it really influenced De Palma, specifically when he was setting up the kids are going to play a prank on Carrie.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing here. They got the pig's blood. By showing us their plan, it creates this perfect build of tension during the prom scene, which we'll get to. But I just wanted to mention that now, because by showing what's going to happen to Carrie, and Carrie not knowing that that's going to happen, it just creates this perfect irony that just keeps you on the edge of your seat and makes you so, just gripped.
Because you also kind of feel like
what's
you're in on the prank.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit. I want to warn her. I want to tell her. I want to stop this.
Yeah. It really informs the prom scene, which, is coming up very soon. The next day, we see more of Chris's plan unfold. She has one of John Travolta's cronies go and sign up to collect ballots and be in charge of prom queen and king election results.
Yeah.
And she also gets Norma on it as well, baseball cap girl.
So there's kind of a inconsistency here, at least in the I watched it on Max. Mm-hmm. So we get then the scene of the 70s montage of everyone going to get their dresses, their hair done, their makeup. Yeah. And we see Norma getting her hair done. She has the baseball cap on top of the hairdryer, which, y'all, the best, that made me lose my fucking mind. But then, while they're, we see Carrie trying on lipsticks and all this stuff, then we go to a scene where they're setting up prom, and Norma's hair is then back, in her knotted braids in the baseball cap, and I was like, that's a continuity error.
Oh, I never noticed.
Because I was like, those scenes should have been flipped. I was like, it should have been, we're setting up prom after school, then we're going to go get all of our shit done after setting up prom. But that was me being so picky, and I just noticed that. No. And I was like,
I think it's
weird.
really funny that you noticed that mistake, kind of, in this sequence, because I was getting ready to say, this is the part of the movie that takes points away from the movie for me. This is maybe my one criticism. Okay. I don't like this scene. I think it's weird. It feels out of place. It's got that quirky doop 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 70s music
ready for prom.
And he did. I watched the bonus features, and De Palma did explain that he had this scene in as kind of a tension breaker, which you have to have in horror movies. Which I would like that in concept, but it's executed so weird. You have the scene of the boys, Tommy and his friends, renting tuxes. They're out trying on tuxes. And they have some fun dialogue. The friend chewing gum is you look terrible. I wouldn't wear those ruffles, kind of bitching him out. But then there's an edit where the footage starts to speed up, and they are in chipmunk voices, do you remember this?
No, I must have not paid attention to that.
Maybe you were taking notes, but it was horrible. And he has stated that kind of ages the film, because slow motion is really effective in movies. Fast motion is just corny. It always plays what we would come to understand as, like, TikTok humor.
Yeah.
Kind of. And I guess he just wanted to avoid doing a jump cut, but there's already a bunch of jump cuts.
This movie has I think it has like a 96 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's where I lost those 4 points.
Yes, yeah. Because really, like, it's such a weird scene, and it's really the only scene I don't like, but I still kind of like it. It's just not as cohesive with the rest of the vibe of the movie. But it does show some good moments. Yeah, it breaks tension, and we see Carrie going out and buying some makeup. And she's trying on different lipsticks. She's trying to see what shade it is. Which, this is a big deal for Carrie, who's always so unkempt. She's finally going to be like, you know what? I'm going to take care of myself for once in my fucking miserable life. Yeah. She goes home, and she puts on a very pretty silk pink dress, or whatever. I don't know what material it is. It looked like silk.
It was a silk or a satin.
Satin. Very pretty pink dress. She actually made it herself. She sewed it together.
And we did see, like, some scenes of that while she was at home. Because, like, there was a scene where, like, she was working on her dress and her mom was just, like, over by herself, like, praying. Like, kind of, like, terrified of, like, not to make the wrong move and piss off Carrie.
Yeah.
Which, like, I thought that was, like, a really cool kind of shot to see that, like, dynamic where, like, Carrie's able to work in peace and do what she wants to do.
Finally. She's downstairs, and she was always secluded in the attic.
Yeah, she's downstairs working on the stuff, which her mom would usually be, like, working on.
Yeah. I like that power shift. That's a good,
It was, like, a really cool one.
And Mrs. White comes up. Carrie looks really pretty. She's got her hair out of her face. It's in loose curls.
And this is a great moment for Piper Laurie. Because Carrie's, like, in the mirror putting on her lipstick, and she goes, red. Should have known you'd pick that color. Or should have known it would have been
color
red.
Of sand.
And, like, Carrie goes... Because I thought at first she was talking about the lipstick. I was like, oh, is she putting on a red lipstick? And she was, like, fully talking about the dress. And she goes, it's pink, Mama.
It's pink.
And so, with that, the dress that the designers originally wanted her to be in was going to be a red dress. But they thought pink was going to look more flattering on her, which I agree. I also think it plays into the whole movie and the... like, character of her more.
Yeah, she's innocent,
virginal, you know, like, and so it makes her look softer.
And it makes the blood stand out later.
Yes.
To have it blood on
exactly, compared to red. But the reason they were going to change the line, because at first nobody, like, had told her, like, Piper Laurie that they were going to change the line.
Oh, yeah?
And then, like, when they got to it, they were like, oh, well, just change it. And she's like, no, for Margaret White, it is red.
Yeah, because pink is just a light red.
But also, she's, like, so insane.
Yeah.
She's just like, yeah, she's wearing red now. Because she's in a dress. Because, like, she's in a dress. She's in a, like, you know, something she would not traditionally, like, be wearing.
It's dark-sided to her.
It's a good... Because her shoulders and, like, her, the top of her breasts are kind of showing, like, oh, it's...
Well, yeah, because she goes... Because Carrie's, like, presenting, like, here, look at my prom look, Mama. And she goes, I can see your dirty pillows. And Carrie's like, they're called breasts, Mama. Every woman has them. And this is when Mrs. White tries to, like, psych Carrie out and try to convince her not to go. This is such an iconic scene. She starts slapping herself, yanking her own hair, scratching her face.
She's like, stop hurting yourself.
She's like, Mama, stop it. And she goes, he's not going to come. He's going to laugh at you.
Well, yeah, because
they're all going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you.
Because they, like, heard, like, a honk, and, like, Carrie ran to the window thinking that he was there. And, like, it wasn't. It was just people driving by, like, they were passing by each other. And so she was like, whatever. And he was like, and that's when she was like, he's not coming. He's not coming.
They're going to laugh at you.
They're all going to laugh at you. And she's like, Mama, he is coming.
Yeah.
And she, like, grabs her and she's like, I'll tell him that you're sick. I'll answer the door for you. And you can stay here and we'll pray. We'll pray together. And she's like, Mama, I'm going. And then she gets, like, pissed. Like, she grabs her. Like, Margaret grabs Carrie and she uses her powers, forces her down into the bed. And this is a good acting moment because you can tell that that Piper Laurie, I have to keep looking at her.
I keep wanting to say Laurie Piper.
Piper Laurie, she, like, makes herself stiff and just falls right back.
Good, like, physical acting.
Like, it's a great, like, it's really great to watch.
She looks just petrified.
She's like, stop it. And she tries to get, like, back up, does it again, and then she, again, forces her down. And it's that same momentum. And Carrie's like...
She's determined.
Because, like, he gets, like, he honks. He's actually...
Yeah, Tommy shows up finally.
And she's like, you stay there. Don't make a word. Make a noise until I get back. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll be home early. Don't worry.
Yeah.
That was... And so then...
And she goes.
And she leaves.
Before they go into the prom, Carrie's really nervous. I don't know, I'm just shy. What do I do? But Tommy hypes her up. Again, some of these characters are very kind to her. Like the gym teacher, Tommy. It's kind of creating this comfortability in Carrie she's never felt before. Yeah. And so she finally gathers the courage and they go into prom. And this is compared, because we forgot to talk about it, but this is our last prom season series episode. And we've done prom night, we've done prom night 2. This is the most, like, realistic prom. This is the chillest prom. Yeah. Like, there's no choreographed disco dance sequences. No. Or, like, everyone dressed up like Madonna. Like, this is a way more realistic. There's a live
table
band.
set around for you to sit
Tables
at.
And like
band,
a style.
dance table, or dance floor, like, very more like where I was like, yeah, this is my prom.
But there's this really cool sweeping over the top of the room, of the gym, establishing shot of prom and everyone having fun. Yeah. It's really cool. Apparently they used a crane because, again, they didn't have, like, the Steadicam technology. They didn't have tracking systems or anything like that. So it's like an actual, like, construction worker crane that he, like, got up and, like, sat on the end of the crane to, like, do that shot. But it's cool. You know, it establishes, like, the vibe of the prom and the silver star decorations everywhere, which this was a really cool visual motif. I'll talk about what they're supposed to represent later. We're getting into, like, astronomy and, like, celestial shit with that, so I'm excited to talk about that. You see Carrie, she's at her table with Tommy. She's very nervous. She doesn't want to dance, but he's being patient with her. He's just kind of chit-chatting with her. It's a little awkward, so when the gym teacher, Miss Collins, comes up and approaches, he's like, I'll leave you guys some privacy and I'll just go get us some punch. And Carrie and Miss Collins have a really nice moment here. And Miss Collins is really proud of Carrie for, like, coming out and, like, she looks really pretty and you're coming out of your shell and da-da-da-da-da. This reminds me of my prom. She tells the story about how her date was, like, really, really tall. So she wore these high heels so she could be taller and, you know, impress him. But she ended up getting really, really bad blisters. So she couldn't dance. So they just sat and they talked. And they ended up having a nice time. Yeah. And she says, Carrie, like, how's your prom so far? And Carrie says, it's nice. And she's like, just nice? And she goes, well, it's like being on Mars or something. I don't think I'll ever forget it. And they hug.
You won't.
Yeah.
You won't.
But the fact that she mentions Mars, she mentions the stars and the planets, kind of. Yeah. That ties into the visual motif of the stars. Again, I'm going to get into that here in a second, what that symbolizes. So Tommy comes back. He is very, very nice to Carrie for the whole remainder of this. He's being funny. He's being charming. Yeah. He's being, like, genuinely kind to her.
He even, like, he asks, he's like, are you sure you have to be home, like, early?
Yeah, he invites her to come hang out with him.
Well, they have a cute moment when her and the teacher are talking. He comes over, he's like, "What are you trying to steal my date from me?" Oh, and he's like, "Oh, I better not see you talking to any boys like that." She's like, "I won't, I promise."
Yeah, it's
like,
really sweet.
He's like, and they just
I think he genuinely starts to, like, develop kind of a crush on her. Yeah, he's like, "Oh, she's really pretty and she's actually really nice and she's not weird at all."
Yeah, she's a very sweet girl.
And you can just tell Carrie is on cloud 9. Yeah, she's having such, like, the time of her life. It's Cinderella at the ball with the prince, right? Yeah. And he convinces her to go out and dance with him. Yeah. And this is one of my favorite scenes. Not only is the camera work amazing and all the visual elements, but it's a really good storytelling moment for Carrie, because we know that her whole prom right now, this whole moment is kind of a farce, right? It was set up by Sue and Tommy. Yeah. And we also know that Chris and John Travolta are getting ready to, like, ruin her life, so basically.
It's like, you know, like, you're getting this, like, kind of, like, perfect night.
If Perfect Day played, it would be very appropriate.
Yeah, but you know, like, it's just that, like, it's gonna come to an end. Yeah. Like, it's gonna come crashing to an end.
So, and I mentioned the silver star decorations. It's like all this crepe shiny paper that are all silver stars. And the art director described that as being a symbolism for, like, fate, kind of. Like, it was a celestial kind of metaphor.
It's all in the stars.
It's all in the stars. And Carrie and Tommy come out, and we get this shot of the camera spinning. It starts to spin slowly and romantically and like in slow motion as they're dancing and spinning around. But then it starts to get like schizophrenic. Like the camera starts to spin and it's almost nauseating. It's going really fast. So fast. I think that is a build up to the moment that it's literally getting ready to happen. The big, moment. It's this overwhelming feeling. It's puts you on edge. Yeah. So it goes from like this fantasy to reality, which is that shit's about to fucking go down.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And it's also circling the camera, which they put the camera on a dolly for this, and literally
this is what I was
ran
talking about.
around in circles.
Well, they like spun the opposite direction, so it even is more disorienting.
And they were literally like falling and stumbling over each other trying to film this, and they all got really bad vertigo apparently, like filming this.
There is some like we'll get into it. Like, but one of the our girl. PJ Souls, Miss Norma, she suffered an injury.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But yeah, what I was going to say was, the camera's spinning around so fast, and it's going in circles, just as Tommy's kind of like circling around her questions, because in this moment, Carrie starts to wonder, like, she's like, why did you ask me to prom? Like, why did you want to come to prom with me? And he's like, well, just because I kind of wanted to. Like, he kind of gives her like...
She's like, why?
Yeah.
Like, she's like not letting it up. She's like...
And she's kind of suspicious of how perfect this is all feeling.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she's getting overwhelmed, and the camera is spinning along with her spinning thoughts that are just spinning out of control, basically. So it's time to vote for prom king and queen.
And so they're passing out ballots, which I don't know how your school did it. Prom king and queen was decided, like, the nominations were before, but it seems like they based off of the couples that came together, because they're like, oh, we're together.
Oh, yeah. Which I guess makes more sense. Why would you want like a random prom king and a random prom queen that like
That's
don't
what my
go together?
Said.
So yeah, it's time to vote for prom king and queen. They pass around ballots, and he convinces Carrie, hey, we should just vote for ourselves, right? He says, to the devil with false modesty.
Yeah.
And she goes, to the devil. I thought that was a really good foreshadowing, right? We cut back to Mrs. White. This is such a camp.
Oh yeah, she like gets up and she goes down to the kitchen.
She starts chopping vegetables.
Carrie, she just like
boom, whacking it,
boom,
and then
boom.
The vegetables just start falling off of the cutting board, and she's just cutting nothing, like, and she has like this zombied out, like manic, like expression. I thought that was so camp. I was like, girl, like, you are gonna ruin your cutting board. That's a nice cutting board.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Then we go back to prom, and then we get this long, continuous shot, which was apparently very technically difficult to master, but I think it's a flawless shot. Like, the fact that they were able to nail it. It's, again, this is I'm on a ride at Disney World, and I'm riding past the storytelling beats. Because we see Norma, baseball cap girl, still got her baseball cap on, in a prom dress. She's collecting the ballots. She goes over to that crony blonde stoner guy who's in on it.
Yeah.
She kisses him, and they sneakily, while they're kissing, switch ballots out for fake ones that have Carrie and Tommy's name on them. And then the camera pans past Chris and John Travolta peeking out from underneath the stage.
Yeah.
Then the camera goes past Sue, Sue is showing up to check in on Carrie and Tommy to make sure that their date is going okay.
Yeah, just to see how prom's going. She's just
to kind of check it out.
Make sure everyone's good.
And she's obviously not in a prom dress. She's just wearing like jeans, and she's just.
Because we got like this scene of her like at dinner with her parents, and she's like, "Oh, what time is it? 8?" And they're like, 8:00. She's like, "I gotta go," and they're like, "What?"
They're like, "Oh, okay, bye."
She's like, "Bye, I love you," and I'm like, "Wow, the '70s where you could just leave,
right.
your house and nobody cared."
Yeah, that kind of blind trust. We talked about that a lot in Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah,
people not being careful enough in the '70s.
Well, I mean, this is all. I mean, the '90s is when a lot of stuff changed because of Columbine.
Yeah.
Because this book and this movie were challenged a lot. Especially more the book.
The book was banned everywhere, yeah.
And it was because, I mean, again, a school massacre at prom is, like, wild to think about in the 70s, but...
Nowadays,
it's like...
yeah, which is fucked up, but that's the world we fucking live in.
Yeah.
Sue comes out, And again, it's this continuous gliding camera shot. We watch her notice something, and then the camera tracks the point of view of her eyes, and then it glides up this rope that leads up to the bucket of blood.
Yeah, and she's like following it to be like, what the...
Yeah. And the blood is positioned right over the stage where the prom king and queen will be standing when they accept their award. So that's when we realize, again, it's the Hitchcock bomb under the table theory. Oh no, they're gonna pour pig's blood on Carrie.
Yeah.
And we get this dreamy... Oh yeah, and that shot ends, with Carrie being announced as prom queen.
Yeah.
Like, it pans to the blood, and then it pans over to the crowd, and it zooms in on Carrie and Tommy's table, and it's like, Carrie and Tommy, prom queen and king.
Yeah.
And we get
everyone's cheering. She's like, holy shit. Like, I what?
What?
Like, bitch, what?
Wait, what?
Me?
Oh my god. And
God.
It's this dreamy slow motion sequence where they walk up to the stage, and you see people look like happy for her. They're like, oh, good for her.
Like,
and
oh,
Carrie,
good
for the very first time in this movie, like smiles, like a real beaming, genuine smile.
Just like, oh my god. Like,
this is her first like genuinely happy moment in her whole fucking life, probably. Miss Collins is like crying tears of joy and being so proud for Carrie in this moment. Sue is gonna go and stop the booby trap. And so while Carrie and Tommy are walking in slow motion up to the stage, Sue goes down and she's trying to get underneath where she sees Chris and John Travolta under there gonna pull the rope. And she's trying to get them to stop. Miss Collins notices Sue and thinks Sue is trying to ruin Carrie's moment.
And she's like, you're not supposed to be here. Because she stands out because she's not wearing a prom dress. So Miss Collins, from the middle of the crowd, is able to be like,
what are you doing, bitch?
You're not going to ruin this moment for her.
And Sue is trying to explain to her, no, Miss Collins, like, I'm trying to help her.
Miss Collins the crowd's is like, too loud, she can't hear her. I don't know. Like, it was like, that's what I assumed is like, she just couldn't hear her.
And Miss Collins was already kind of sus of the whole thing, so she drags Sue out and kicks her out and locks her out of the gym. Yeah. Right? And so, unfortunately for Carrie, now Chris and John Travolta can carry out their plan.
Yeah.
Carrie goes up to the stage with Tommy, and they get the crown.
You get the shawl.
You get the shawl. You wear the crown. Roxy?
What's a shawl? Huh?
Take the crown. We wear the shawl.
Cut. What's a shawl, Roxy?
Huh?
We take the crown. We wear the shawl.
We take the crown. We wear the shawl. The
sash.
And so this is the moment, bitch. Chris, she has this like, she licks her lips, and she has this like, orgasmic pull on the rope, because it's just like such a climax bitch moment for her. Pig's blood falls and drenches Carrie all in blood. The iconic scene from this movie that everyone knows. And the like score, which was really beautiful up until this point, and then like, you know, sinister when they were doing the prank, now it's stopped.
Yeah.
There's no music.
It's dead silent.
No nothing. You just kind of hear like gasps, and Carrie, it's all in slow motion. Carrie is processing what is happening.
Yeah.
Then the bucket falls and hits Tommy on the head, knocks his ass out unconscious. He even could be dead. I know a lot of people like theorize that like, oh, maybe he died at this point. From my point of view watching the movie, it just looked like he got knocked out. But if he did die from that, I mean, that would be extra fucked up, right?
A lot of like, I think in the original story he died, and I think it even is the intention that he died in this.
Oh, okay. It just kind of looks like he got knocked out.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because it does just kind of like...
And I think in Carrie's mind, she's like, they just killed my prom date. Yeah. Too. Like, not only did they completely humiliate me, pour nasty blood on me, they also just killed my fucking Prince
dress.
Charming.
She worked on her dress. She made that dress.
Yeah. And this is when Carrie.
Well, Nora so it starts like Nora starts the laughing, but it's all like quiet. You don't hear it.
Yeah.
You see, Nora's like the one who's like
Norma.
Norma's the one trying to get everyone to like, oh my god, let's start laughing.
Laughing point.
And then it turns into like you like start to hear the laughter, and then Chris and Billy, John Travolta, have left at this point.
Yeah, they're like, we need to get the fuck out of here. And she starts to look around the gym.
Sees all the people laughing.
There is this filter that looks like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah.
Where it's like focus on like one person laughing at her, and that person is doubled and like quadrupled in the background of the shot, and it's spinning to just give this overwhelming. And so Carrie feels like everyone's laughing at her. Now, I think that not everyone was laughing at her. We get a shot of Miss Collins laughing, and I'm like, I don't think Miss Collins was laughing.
That was a point where I was like, that seemed out of left field for her.
The director said no, she wasn't really laughing, but in Carrie's mind, and when you're on a stage and you have lights in your eyes, you can't see anyone in the crowd.
No.
But if you hear people laughing and you're in that moment, your just brain takes over and you're overwhelmed and you're like, everyone's laughing at me. So that's what's happening here, I think. And this is when Carrie snaps, bitch.
She shuts all the doors.
We get that
she turns
violin.
all the lights pure red.
And the split screen comes up onto the frame. Again, really cool cinematography.
Yeah.
They're playing around with the editing. Her eyes are wide and in this like creepy ass, scary, frightening trance-like state. And she's redirecting her eyes at different things and controlling them with her mind. So we get the crazy, sequence. It's my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah. Some kids are like Norma and like
like kind of cronies,
and like they're trying to get out of the doors, but like it like will like it's like slightly open and then it just like shoves them back in
and starts crunching to the two guys.
Yeah,
Carrie uses the doors to crunch them.
Yeah,
and
their kids are now screaming for help.
Yeah, everyone's panicking. She starts bringing the fire hose alive with her mind, and this is crazy because it really ruptured the actress who played Norma.
It ruptured her eardrum.
Yeah, they used a real fucking fire hose. And the guy who was in charge of stunts and stuff was like, we shouldn't do this. But the director insisted. He was like, no, it's the only way we're going to get it to look right. And I think the fire hose is really important. Like, that's a really scary element of this.
Damn, you could have.
Come on now, right?
Could have done something a little different for that.
Apparently, yeah, she ruptured her fucking ear canal. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And she's fire hosing people to death. She causes the lights to explode. The principal gets up on stage and is trying to get on the microphone, being like don't panic. She uses the microphone to zap him electrically.
Yeah, because she aims the water to hit the wiring so that it electrocutes him and some other guy.
Yeah, and another chaperone or something.
Teacher. Something.
Then we see Miss Collins. She's up over by the lockers and she goes, Carrie, no!
Let me try and help you. Yeah. And then she drops a backboard or
yeah. There was some kind of a wooden structure that Carrie uses to crunch.
It comes down and just smashes her
to death. And this is crazy because you're damn, our only good characters, Tommy and Mrs. Collins, are now both fucking dead as shit. And Carrie also lights the place on fire.
Yeah.
She causes this massive fire. It's almost like the parting of the Red Sea, kind of, as she's walking through the flames.
And she just kind of goes to a door, opens it with her powers, and she just has this, trance-like walk.
Yeah, her arms are out in this weird kind of, creature-like stance, which really unnerved me.
Which is, not, I don't know, how much of an acting choice, because, I talked to you, the mixture that they use for the blood, she said, once it started to solidify, it got sticky, or once it started to cool.
So she was holding her arms up.
So she had to hold her arms up so that they wouldn't get stuck to her side, or to the dress. So it's just but it added so much,
really
and
good.
It just makes it even more trance and scary. And so she just leaves. The school's in flames,
and the doors shut behind her.
Few people probably got out. We know Sue survived.
Sue survived. I think everyone else died.
Yeah.
Sue and the bullies got out. Chris and John Travolta.
Yeah.
They all got out. Everyone else perished. And I want to talk about the remake too. I think that another reason why I don't like the remake, and I don't like this scene in the remake, I remember being like, ugh. Because Chloe Grace Moretz, and she's a good actress, right? But
I know that the remake went more for, like, the actual, because they could show more, like, gore. They kind of went more that route. Like, oh, we can do more.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay.
So and Chloe Grace Moretz, I think she's a good actress. She was miscast as Carrie. She is not Carrie to me. Like, I do not buy her. She's way too pretty. She's way too, like, has way too much of, like, a... I don't know. I'm just... I'm the quirky girl.
She didn't drub it on. She didn't commit.
She's not unkempt at all. She doesn't look like an actual outcast. And her acting during the prom massacre is what really drove me nuts. Because what makes Sissy Spacek her performance as Carrie so scary and so good in this prom scene is that she's in that trance and she's just acting with her eyes, those big, scary eyes.
So it also kind of gives, like, you don't even realize, like, some of the people didn't even realize what was going on, that it was, like, her doing all this shit, you know what I mean? Which gives... But when, she's doing all this, like, manipulation.
Chloe Grace Moretz was, like, using her arms and her whole body and, like, giving really angry facial expressions. And it looked like she had to work really hard to make that stuff happen, like Carrie, the character.
Yeah.
Whereas in the OG, Carrie is so powerful, she doesn't even have to move her body at all. She just focuses her gaze on something and she can control it, and that's really scary, particularly her body language when she's walking, like we said, out of the
that's
gym.
how, like, not to go that's how Matilda is.
Right,
Matilda is like she'll do like a little hand wave now and then. She'll like,
if she wants to serve a little extra cunt, she'll give the hand.
Swoop.
She'll give a wrist. But sometimes all you need is a look, bitch.
Yeah.
And such a good scene.
Yeah, no, I love this. And then, this is I love that scene. My favorite scene is we get her walking down the street, and we then get Chris and Billy in Billy's car driving, like, 100 miles per hour. Probably not that fast, but, you know, super fast. And they're behind her. They're going to run her over. And she does the, like... It's also her body acting in this moment. She does this, like, really cool turn.
Yeah,
and
jerks her
just
head around.
looks right at them, and the car swerves and then flips over, and then we get this shot of them, like, in the car, like, screaming.
Yeah.
Which the actress, the way she said, she was like, we literally just shot it, and then they just spun it in post.
The car. That's funny.
Which is like, you can't. There's no way to, like, at that time do that practical effect for safely.
But the rest of the effect is practical. It was the stunt guy. He did it in one take.
Because then once it comes, like, it lands back, it just blows up, and it's so good, and it's satisfying because you're like, fuck those
motherfuckers.
If anyone deserved it, those two deserved it.
Yeah, and they had the best death. That was awesome. I love that scene too, and it is made all the more effective because this is a practical effect. Like I said, the stuntman, he did it in one take. That's so impressive. And it looks like a real car flipping over an explosion. Cars nowadays, I feel like, what happened to CGI in movies?
Oh my god, speaking of practical effects, the new Alien movie is focusing mostly solely on practical effects.
Oh my god, we should do Alien soon.
We should, because I love Alien, and I can talk about that film.
That's one of your favorites.
That's one of my favorites. And we have to make sure we watch the good cut that doesn't get rid of the scene I love.
Oh, okay.
Because there's one scene in it that I just absolutely love, and I think it gives a good, like...
I know what you're talking about,
Yes.
Yeah.
But like, I'm excited for this new one, because it's, like, mostly using practical effects.
Thank God. Practical effects are so much
better. They did,
so much
I saw someone, like, behind the scenes where it's the baby xenomorph. And it's, like, a practical effect. Like, they made, like, a little robotic one that's just,
awesome.
like, crawling around. I'm like, yes, that's what I need in movies.
I love that. Use animatronics.
CGI.
Use real, like, or claymation.
Because I think the director, I forget who's directing it. I don't know if it's this... No, I don't know who's directing, but he was like, he's like, I'm tired of CGI. I hate it. I think it's overwhelming the industry. And I'm like, thank you.
It looks so much worse now because I think that they have less time.
How does the lions in the new Lion King look worse than Aslan in
Narnia from like the early 2000s? I know, it's crazy.
I don't get that.
But yeah, this was an amazing effect. Carrie returns home, and the inside of her house is covered in 1 million candles.
Like, where was her mom keeping all these candles?
Right.
Yeah, there are a million candles. And Carrie's just kind of like, Mama?
Oh my god. What you mentioned earlier, that POV shot from Carrie as she's
That's
walking around her
it.
house and noticing all these
And
million
this, I
candles
loved
everywhere.
this because I was expecting Mrs. White just to pop out at
jump.
one point and be like, "You're back,"
Yeah.
and like her mom never sees her like. Her mom never sees what
The carnage.
the
Yeah.
carnage. It's
Yeah.
kind of insane.
Well, because she goes upstairs and she goes into the bathroom to wash away the blood. But we see her mom is lurking, hiding behind a door, just like stiff as a board. It's really creepy because if you aren't paying attention, maybe you wouldn't notice her.
Well, she didn't. Like, that's a
Yeah,
big... She didn't
Carrie
know.
just walks right past her. But when you realize the mom is standing there, it's like, ew, what's she gonna do, bitch?
So,
Like, she's so
yeah.
scary.
We get the scene where Carrie just completely washes...
She takes a bath. She washes away the pig's blood completely. And she comes out and her mom appears.
What's heartbreaking about this, I thought, is like, she thought she could find comfort in her mom.
Yeah, she's like, hold me, mama. But her mom gives her this monologue, okay? She goes, I should have killed myself when he put it in me. After the first time, before we were married, Ralph promised never again. He promised. And I believed him. But sin never dies. Sin never dies. At first it was all right. We lived sinlessly. We slept in the same bed. But we never did it. And then that night I saw him looking down at me that way. We got on our knees and prayed for strength. I smelled the whiskey on his breath. And then he took me. He took me with the stink of filthy roadhouse whiskey on his breath. And I liked it. I liked it. With all that dirty touching of his hands all over me. I should have given you to God when you were born. But I was weak and backsliding. Now the devil has come home. We'll pray. We'll pray. And I delivered it really campy, but it was actually like really good the way that she does it. Like,
yeah. And they wanted to cut this.
could you imagine?
Oh,
This is the best acting in the movie, I think,
Oh, yeah.
honestly.
This moment is like,
crazy.
God damn. This
Carrie's
one
like, hold me, mommy. And she's like, no, actually, I'm going to tell you about how your dad raped me and that's how you were conceived.
And that's why you're the devil.
Yeah, and now we're going to pray the devil out of you. That's
And
really
then
comforting.
she says, like, she cradles, she's like, we're gonna pray one last time. And Carrie kind of was like, what? And then she stabs her with the knife. The kitchen.
And the
this
music that plays during this. That beautiful, haunting piano that starts.
Yes. Again, that's why I think, this movie's so good. Because every aspect of it is so well put together and so well woven. Like, the cinematography, and then the adding this beautiful score to it. To this dramatic scene. And it's like, we see Carrie, like, fall down the stairs from her bedroom.
Just in complete shock and complete
she's
anguish.
like trying to just get away, and her mom's trying to come back at
And the
her.
mom looks so scary, like with holding the knife and just like with that crazy smile on her face.
Because she's like, this is how it's gonna end. I'm gonna put an end to this. It's gonna be all good. We're gonna be fine. And then Carrie starts to use her powers to keep her mom at bay by using knives and other sharp tools to stab her to the archway.
She kind of crucifies her mom almost,
and then stabs her more so that she looks like the Saint Sebastian at the end. And her mom. This is another great acting choice by Miss Piper Laurie because she doesn't like die in agony. It's very much a like relief,
she
like
orgasms.
This ecstasy, this sweet relief of
it's
like,
literally like like she kind of goons while she dies.
But it's like, and like Piper Laurie talked about this in that documentary I watched where she was like, I wanted to have this like it's what Margaret White wanted, this escape finally, this eternal like going to heaven, this death.
Well,
like,
and
this
also
eternal paradise.
she's like, she's so like Jesus obsessed that like the fact that she's being crucified is probably really fulfilling to her, like in her religious crusade.
Yeah. And it's like such a good because she's actually pinned in a way to where like even when she dies, she doesn't like fall to the ground. She's just
she's Jesus on the cross. Yeah.
And then that's when Carrie like realizes what she's done.
She goes up and oh, mama. And she starts cradling her mom's body.
Yeah, trying. And then the house.
This is the scene I was talking about
So
earlier.
rocks. You could see them at points. So
Yeah.
the original concept was they wanted the original destruction of Carrie's house, because we get to this big destruction scene where her powers basically overtake everything and destroy the house on top of her. It was originally, because in the original story, rocks and boulders fell and like crushed the house.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do that, but they could not figure out how to get it to work. They tried to miniature model and it didn't work. They tried to do it like actually and it didn't work. So there's scenes you can see like the ceiling where boulders are starting to crush. They're quick and it's like, unless you know it, you don't really see it.
Yeah.
Because then the house just
you
starts
almost are like, I guess that's just like
parts of the house breaking
apart.
wood and debris. Like,
it doesn't really look like boulders.
I thought it was just chunks of wood coming down, like, you know what I mean?
But so basically,
the house
it's kind of imploding on itself.
And so then Carrie drags her mom into the cupboard that she would always
the Jesus closet,
because that was her safe spot.
That was just where she was used to
going to hide when stuff started to come down around her.
So literally, the world's coming down around Carrie.
And the house and it's also kind of like a metaphor, because it kind of looks as if the house is being sucked into hell.
Yeah, it literally goes down in flames,
So it's like, wait, it kind of leaves you with this question of, wait, was her mom right this whole time? Was Satan trying to like, when she did Satan's deed, he was like, you know what I mean?
That's kind of like, well, and I think that's how the rest of the town takes it.
Yes.
That's probably the perception they got. I think, like, how we know Carrie's
I think it's
still,
like,
at the end of the day, and innocent. Like,
yeah.
Did she kill those people in a rage? Yeah, but she has no control of her powers. Like, so at the end of the day, I think it's just her being really overwhelmed, grieving, and those emotions that control her powers just overtook her, and the house swallows her up. Yep. And we see that Sue is the only survivor of this whole
ordeal. Massacre, I guess.
And she goes, it's a little later, and she goes to visit the plot of land where Carrie's house used to be before it got dragged to hell.
Yeah.
And there's a
for sale sign.
Yeah, it's a for sale sign that
looks like a cross.
Yes. And someone tagged it and said Carrie White rots in hell or burns in hell or something. Which is sad because, like, even in Carrie's afterlife, she's still getting bullied. She still has, people still think she's weird and crazy because she killed all these people because they don't know, what really happened.
Yeah.
And also, this sequence is cool. I guess they shot it backwards and then, like, reversed the image so it gives this, like, dreamlike quality. Like, the wind is whipping in an unnatural way. There's cars in the background that are going backwards.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Because this is one of the most iconic and influential jump scares in horror.
It got me. It actually got me when I watched it last night. It's one of the first, like, ending, like, in Scream, in our Scream episode, which was our first episode, we talked about the rules of horror movies, and that was a big part of that movie, was that at the end of the movie, the killer's going to jump out at you for one last, surprise. Yeah.
And this is the movie that started that, because
she
a
goes
hand
to lay
comes
down the
out.
flowers, and then Carrie's hand pops out and grabs her
arm. Ta-da! And apparently, everyone back in the day...
That's actually Sissy
Spacek's arm.
Spacek's arm.
And it's all bloody. It looks like Carrie, bloody Carrie's arm. And apparently this ending is, like, what sold a lot of people on horror movies and inspired a whole generation of scares and surprises because, it's listed as one of the most influential, scares in horror history.
Yeah.
And
then she, like, wakes up, it was all a dream, and she's just, like... Her
mom's trying to console her, but she's panicking, and she'll forever be traumatized.
And so the actress who played her mom, Miss Priscilla Pointer, she said that, like, she'd never seen Amy act that way, like, be so, like, traumatized, like, have that, like, hysterical. So it's like she kind of panicked too, and she said she's pretty convinced she accidentally called her, like, Amy during it, but she's like, I was so nervous during the final cut that she would hear it, but I didn't realize the way they, like, did the music and the fade out.
Yeah.
But also, even if they hadn't done that, the audience was just going so crazy because of that last shot.
Yeah, because they're all so scared.
You couldn't even.
I love that shit. Yeah.
Which, like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so cool.
So that's Carrie.
Such a good film. Like,
Yes.
definitely, like, holds up.
Yes, I think
Holds
so.
up.
I adore it. It's one of my absolute favorites. Go fucking watch Carrie if you have never seen it. If we haven't convinced you already.
Yeah, it's one of my
It's a
favorites.
masterpiece.
It's short, because it is, like, I mean, an older film. It came out in the 70s. I think it's an easy horror film to watch if you are not super into horror film. If you do not like gore or like really graphic stuff,
Yeah.
this is a great one.
It's
like everything's very minimal.
It's very like that's how the 70s. We talked in Texas Chainsaw when we did that episode.
Because they can only show so much.
Yeah,
like
it's
or
all
else-
like implied
because
horror and gore.
you never
You don't
wanted
actually
because like
really see
an
it.
R rating was like if you got an R rating that was fine. You know you could still like sell tickets, but if you got like anything higher, like an X rating, which if like your thing was too graphic, you would get an X rating. You're not going to get.
It was a death sentence on like your
You're not going to get. Your theaters aren't going to pick it up.
on your box office results.
Absolutely. So like stuff had to be more tamed down to cut it.
Yeah, I agree. It's like a good intro to horror for people who are easily scared because it's like definitely scary, but it's more disturbing and less like gory, shock horror, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, totally recommend Carrie. And this concludes our prom season series. Thank you so much for going on this journey with us.
Happy
guys.
prom, everyone.
Happy prom.
If you haven't heard our other prom ones, go listen to Prom Night and Prom Night 2.
Yeah.
They're both great films. I love both of them. We've done like 3 great films in a row.
And we're about to do a wild one next week, bitch.
Because next week is Mother's Day.
Yeah, Mother's Day. I wonder what we could be doing for Mother's Day.
Ooh, you really ate that one, Mother.
Oh, this is a potential
Mother.
Oh, she's in her mother era. Mother.
We're doing Mother.
We're doing Mother.
Yeah, the Jennifer Lawrence, like, weird Bible analogy movie.
Kristen Wiig's in it.
Yeah, Kristen Wiig's in it for like 2 seconds. It's so funny.
There's a baby.
Oh,
for a
there's
minute.
Definitely a baby. Yeah, we'll get into that next week because that movie is like chaotic. Like that's an unhinged movie.
I know it's like all a metaphor too.
It's a biblical metaphor. It's the same director who did Black Swan, which all of his movies are just unhinged.
Also, I didn't point out this is our second Stephen King film.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
or film based off of Stephen.
I'm sure
King.
we will cover more Stephen King because he has so many. But this is my favorite.
I mean, I don't know which ones are the ones I would want to do.
I mean, we'll probably talk about it at some point.
Which one, the original or the new one?
I don't really like either.
I know. See, I love the original. I
Well,
love
it's-
part 1 of both the original
Right.
and the new, but
Yeah.
I hate
Part 2.
part 2
Once
of
they
them.
become adults in that story, I stopped giving
Who
two
cares?
shits.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so hard to get through
But
it.
you know what's cute though? We probably should do it because that was the first movie we went to the theater and saw together when we were first becoming friends.
That's
and
so
I was
true.
getting you into scary movies.
Yes, and we both, because I did want to see it. We're
Yeah.
like, oh, let's go see it.
Yeah. And that first
That's so,
Maybe we
I
will
forgot
do.
that. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Go back.
I know. So maybe we'll do that at some point. But yeah, so we're doing Mother next week.
Mother.
So stay tuned
Potential
for
mother.
that. And we are so happy that you have joined us this week on Let's Scream. Let me pull up my...
Yeah, we hope you had a fun time with us today at Bates High School. Please remember to follow the pod, like the pod, and please leave a nice review of the pod.
And follow us on Instagram and YouTube, bitch. And Spotify.
Yes,
And leave
it's-
reviews and leave motherfucking comments.
Yes, our
okay?
Instagram is at Let's Scream Pod.
People ask me, how do we support the pod? We like listening to pod. Bitch, leave a comment.
Leave a comment.
Leave a review. Like and subscribe. Come on.
We'll shout you out, we promise. We'll start giving shout outs.
Yeah. And if you request a movie, bitch, we'll do it.
Yeah.
My friend Erica requested Texas Chainsaw and we did it the next day. I was
Yeah.
like, perfect, let's do it.
Yeah, please, because sometimes it's really hard for me to think of movies. I'm
Yeah.
the worst. And sometimes, especially if I want to, if we want to expand what we're watching, send us some of your favorites that we may not know of.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to just do, I love doing the classics,
the classics.
and the well-known ones, but I'm also, I want to explore and
I
watch
like
some chaotic
crackhead
ones.
ones. We haven't really done any sequels yet. I mean, we did Prom Night
Night
2, but
Okay.
that's not really a sequel.
It's not
It's
at all?
only a sequel by name only. So yeah, if you want us to do a sequel to a movie we've covered already.
Should we do Carrie, too? The Curse.
Yeah, I've actually heard that one's kind of fun. I've heard
That's
that,
what I've
it's
heard.
not that-
I've heard if you take the Carrie aspect out of it,
Yeah.
It's actually like really fun.
I've never
it's very
seen it,
satisfying
but-
to watch all the bullies get killed.
Okay, well maybe we'll do it.
So maybe
if
we'll
you guys
watch
want
it.
us to. But
We can watch
only
it
if you
before,
want
and
us
then if
to.
it's like good, we'll do it.
Yeah, so leave a comment if that's something you're interested in. And you can also follow me at Parker_Will_C.
And you can follow me at Stevie Nash 95.
And until next time, this has been
Let's scream. Bye.